By definition, an antenna is a metal whip designed to receive and transmit radio signals within a given area.
It's BS in the Morning on KSLQ and Westplex 107.1.
KC95, rockin' St. Louis. How'd I do, Shelley?
Real rock radio.
It's not KC95. It's Westplex 107.1. They got a big 100,000-watt transmitter. We got a little transmitter that a gerbil keeps running on, and when he gets hungry and starts to slow down, we have to feed him more food, and then power goes back up. 620.
Yeah, he lives on wood.
Whoa, not going to touch that one. Okay, 620.
That would probably be best.
623. Shelley, it's
What?
Friday.
I know. I love Friday.
And you know what? What's sort of sad? It's the last Friday of January. Where did this month go? It's the
you know what?
man.
I don't even know how I turned this age, so I don't know how the month went.
Doesn't it seem like just like the week before last, it was like New Year's Day or something like that?
Yes, it does.
I mean, how did we get to the 27th of January?
I have no idea.
Man, there's
For reals.
all sorts of weird stuff going on in the world. We'll talk about some of it. Talk about some of it right here in the St. Louis area. There's sometimes hold on. I had a hiccup there. I got to take a deep breath, otherwise I'm going to get the hiccups the entire morning. You ever do that? You ever get self-induced hiccups?
No.
I can tell when I'm just about ready to start into. There have been times when I've hiccuped for hours.
Days.
Well, not days. I mean, but
Yeah, days.
no. I mean,
Since you've known me, yes.
I've stopped at one point, but it hadn't been continuous. But like I hiccup for hours. You're right, and then like the next day it'll be back, stuff like that. Haven't had that in a while. You know what they say that is?
They say that your GI tract is messed up.
That's not what I heard, but
Oh, what'd they say?
never mind. Okay.
Just tell me.
I can't.
Why?
I just can't. I can't. 624. By the way, you can check us
Brad
out.
Hildebrand, the international man of mystery.
Here we go again. I had a guy yesterday that called me up and said, "What's your web address for your radio station?" BS.Show. And he goes, "Is that a .com? BS.Show.com?" No, it's a .show. And he goes, "Well, there is no such thing." I go, "Well, news to us, because we've been using it we started this. Matter of fact, we didn't talk about this beginning of the year. We were BS in the morning .show, okay? And we did that because of the fact that for years, Shelley kept telling everybody, "We're going to do a morning show one day. It's going to be BS in the morning."
I kept on telling you that.
Well, you told people that. I was places where Chamber of Commerce meetings where you go, "We're going to do a morning show one day. It's going to be called BS in the morning." Okay, so finally she talks me into it, and I try to buy bsinthemorning.com, and the people in Las Vegas have it. And at the time, it was Brittany and Sparks. That was the BS, okay? Brittany, unfortunately, got fired, then came back to Las Vegas to try to get a job again, and unfortunately killed herself, committed suicide. Sparks gets fired. Izzy takes over for Brittany, and they bring in some other guy. They call him Big Boy or something like that. So there's a B, but it's a BI. So Izzy quits. Remember, you sent me that not too long ago, that Izzy left. And we don't know what the hell happened to Sparks. For a while, he was doing the BS in the morning show from his house because apparently he owned the domain. And now I have no idea. So quite honestly, I got a little bit aggravated with all that. So unbeknownst to Shelley,
That's true. Which
true.
happens a lot. A lot of unbeknownst to Shelley goes on here.
In November of 2021, yes, in November of 2021, I went online and I bought the domain BS.Show. And quite honestly, I paid a pretty penny for it because, it's frustrating to me as a guy who's done a lot of web work. Used to be able to buy .info and things like that super cheap, sometimes for 99 cents. Not anymore. They're $39. So anyway, I bought BS.Show. And on our first show of 2022, which was last year, Shelley didn't even know it. We rebranded the show to BS.Show, put up a different website, changed everything around, and it became the BS.Show. Right?
Yes.
And quite honestly, that domain, that website takes lots of hits. I mean, I'm blown away about how much traffic that site gets from time to time. I mean, there are days when it cruises along and thousands of hits, and there's days when it gets 10,000 or more hits. Now, for a small radio station that's just catering to a small area within the St. Louis metro, because all we care about is the Westplex. All we care about is St. Peter's, St. Charles, Cottleville, Weldon Spring, O'Fallon, Wentzville. That's all we care about. Everything else is just icing on the cake, because where is the growth engine of the St. Louis area? Where is the money? Where is the quality of life? It's in the Westplex.
Show me the money.
In what used to be called the Golden Triangle, and the reason,
Yep.
if you are a longtime resident of St. Charles County, you used to hear the term Golden Triangle, and the reason for that was it was a triangle put on its tip. One side of the triangle was 70. That was the cross. Matter of fact, an inverted pyramid is what it was. One side of the pyramid was 70. And then on the other sides of the pyramid, or the triangle, whichever you want to call it, was 4064, which came down from Wentzville ultimately to 94 in Weldon Spring, and then up from Weldon Spring, 94, up to I-70, which created this huge triangle. And if you look at that, almost all the growth in St. Charles County was within that triangle. Now, it's changed a little bit because there's growth just outside of that triangle in Wentzville. Part of Wentzville is in the triangle, part of it is not. But the majority of Wentzville is, I guess, technically, Old Town Wentzville is within the triangle, but the new part of Wentzville is not within the triangle. But you know what I'm saying. Anyway, that is what we do, and we cater that area. It's a radio station crafted for those people, and within that triangle, there's 300,000, I think 350,000 plus people, because St. Charles County alone is 400. I think it's up to like 415 now, 415,000. And the majority of those 415,000 are within that Golden Triangle. Yeah, there's a couple people down in Augusta. Matter of fact, here, I don't know if you know this or not. The Hoffmans, who now have bought most of Augusta, they have petitioned the state to be, because they're big time. They've petitioned the state. Mr. and Mrs. Hoffman has petitioned the state to each be counted 1,000 times in the census. So when the Hoffmans are in Augusta, there's 2,000 people in Augusta. Did you know that?
Why would they do that?
They're big time. They're not just like you and me. The census counts us once. The census counts them 1,000 times.
That's illegal.
No. Well,
Isn't it?
No. They passed a law. They lobbied.
Oh, they did not.
They lobbied.
Stop it.
Yeah, matter of fact, Nick Schroyer and Bill Eigel put the law.
Danger, Will Robinson. Ignore.
Nick Schroyer and Bill Eigel. Bill called for you the other day, by the way. You know that? He said, "Where's my Shelley?" I go, "I don't know. Give her a call. Here's a number." Did he call you?
No.
What?
He would not call me, and I know he wouldn't call you.
He didn't call you? Oh,
no.
How can that be? What's the problem here? Come on.
I don't know, man. Guilty by association, I guess.
Aren't you nice? Aren't you nice? Anyway, lots of stuff to talk about today. Tashara Jones in the city with all the crap that's going on down there. You know what she said? We've got enough police.
We got enough what?
Police. She said, we don't need any more police. That's what she said. We got enough police. We're doing fine. If they had 10 times the number of police, they wouldn't have enough police for the city anymore. It's just gotten crazy. I mean, these people that put all their money into the Foundry and the Armory, the new Armory down there, I feel sorry for them, because all the publicity, if you know the story, the Armory was open 1 week, and already the guys, they're bashing out windows in the parking lot and stealing everybody's stuff.
Who?
The creeps.
Oh, man.
Don't you? Come on, we talked about this the other day, that they arrested 3 juveniles who the police caught them breaking into cars at the Armory. The kids fired at the police. They arrest them. They're 14, 15, and 16. They take them down to process them because they're juveniles, and they get let right back out. They're back on the street. They're not in juvenile.
I do remember discussing that, but I didn't know it was there.
Yes, at the Armory. I mean, and once again, the place is cool. It looks cool. It's the old Armory building, which was once upon a time an armory. I mean, you don't see that anymore. Cities used to always have. Matter of fact, Washmo has an armory. Do you know about the Armory in Washmo?
I heard they did, but I don't know where it's at.
It's right off the fairgrounds there in Washington. Matter of fact, if you go to the fair and you go around the backside of the fair, they make that, I can't remember the name of that street, but they make that one street one way, and that's where the buses drop you off and pick you up at that back gate.
Uh-huh.
Right down the street from that, on the left, is the Armory. It's right there. And I believe that's a National Guard Armory, and that's where they got all the arms. Matter of fact, They've got guns, and then they've got some more guns and guns and guns and guns and guns. They got lots of guns there. It's amazing people don't break into
So
that
you're
place.
saying they have guns?
They've got guns, yes. Anyway, and the Armory building downtown was, if I'm not mistaken, I remember my dad talking about going down there for, after he got out of World War II, he was in the reserves. I think he went there for like drill instruction or something like that. They did recurrent training or whatever they did. You know what I'm saying?
Was your daddy a drill instructor?
No. My dad was in the war. He was.
I knew that.
He was drafted, so he's an enlisted man. And then he went away to college, and after he got back from World War II, and then he got his degree, and then he upgraded because he had his college degree. He took the OCS. I don't know if they called it back then, but now they call it OCS, Officers Candidate School, and he became a second Louis. And then he became a first Louis, and then he became a captain. And he was going to be promoted to a major, but at the time they had too many majors. So he retired as a captain. He was an 03 in the Army. And you know how that works. You know that?
I do.
Yes. So you know that. What was your husband? Your husband was like, your husband, was he an officer or enlisted man? He was an enlisted man, wasn't he?
He was an enlisted man in the Air Force.
I know that, yeah.
But in the FAA, he was a GS.
Yeah, but he wasn't
15.
Right. But in the enlisted man, was he a sergeant when he retired from the Army?
I don't know the answer.
He
to
was
that
probably
question.
in 04 and 05, 06, something like that.
Again, don't know.
No, in E4, 5, or 6, something like that. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I don't know why we're talking about that. Lots of stuff to talk about. Okay, are you into football? You're not, correct?
Now, what do you think?
I think you could care less.
Correct.
So you don't know about the big games this weekend, right?
No.
This is the weekend that determines the two teams for the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is the big weekend. So are you going to be
So are the St. Louis Rams in there?
You sound like me. I told that story the other day at the chamber meeting, and those ladies thought I was bizarre. Which is a true story. How about the guy, this is like 2010. I think it was like 2010. The guy calls me from Kansas City. This is one of the NFL dudes from Kansas City. Hey, how'd you like to run the Kansas City Chiefs on your radio station? I can't do that because there's a rule. They call it out-of-market broadcast. The idea being is if you have a team in your city, and it's the same thing for Major League Baseball. If you have a team in your city, you can't run another city's broadcast. In other words, a radio station in St. Louis couldn't run the Chicago Cubs or the LA Dodgers because there is a team here in St. Louis, the St. Louis Cardinals. They have a flagship station, the KMOX, and that's the way it works. Well, the guy calls me from Kansas City and says, well, hey, we want to run the Kansas City Chiefs in St. Louis. I go, why would you? Well, we want to build up a fan base because the Rams are leaving. Right? And I've told this story I don't know how many times, and nobody believes me. And matter of fact, I told it at Chamber of Commerce meetings. I was in my leads group. Hey, we've got the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Rams are going to be leaving St. Louis. No, they're not. They'll never leave. I'm the guy that showed up on the last home game with a sign that says, I want to get in free to the last home game ever of the St. Louis Rams. People made fun of me. Oh, they're not leaving. Guy game me a ticket. I go to get the game.
You had
Guess what?
somebody serenade you,
Yes.
made your aho.
Right. Last home game ever, and I saw it. How sad is that? It's actually very sad. Anyway,
You actually Facebook Lived it.
I did. I mean, and nobody believed me. I'm going like, hey, it's the last Rams home game ever. And poor Randy Carricker. God, he took it so hard. He cried.
Who?
Randy Carricker. You don't know who he is.
I don't.
You're not a sports guy. He's like a big wig. He's like over at ESPN. He's the longest living. He's the only guy from when ESPN 101 went on the air. He's the original guy. Everybody else has been fired and rehired 22 times. Because it used to be, it still is that way. The sports guys, St. Louis, there's like a what do you call it? A merry-go-round. It used to be, well, you worked at Fans 590, and then you worked at whatever, one of the other Sports 1380, and then you worked at ESPN. Then you got fired from ESPN. Then you went back to Fans 590. Then you went over to ESPN 1380. Then you went back to ESPN 101, bang. But he's like the original guy. He's one of my students. I taught him at Lindenwood. When I was teaching at Lindenwood, he was an undergrad student. And to this day, if I mention that, it gets back to him. He won't talk to me. It's embarrassed about that. He won't admit the fact that I was one of his teachers. Isn't that sad?
So why do you keep on mentioning it if he won't talk to you?
Tick him off. I mean, why else?
Oh, yeah, well, that's kind of how you roll, so
No,
I
I
can
don't
see
know.
that.
I have no ill will against the guy. I've told you I'm proud of my people that I've hired. First time radio people. There's still a bunch of them on the air. Captain Mac, I heard him yesterday on Tracy's station. Oh no, that's not Tracy's station. They have the same name, Real Talk. It's the other Real Talk. It's Real Talk number 1. She's Real Talk number 2. I heard him on. I heard him on.
It's real something.
Yeah. Better watch. Her attorney will send you a cease and desist letter like I got from her.
I don't have I'm not in the crowd like you are.
What? Oh, and by the way, Mike Otten says only the best sports dudes could make it onto crap. That's right, sports crap. We got to change the sign because it's not sports crap anymore. One of these days, I'm going to change the sign down there. The problem I got right now. I believe the beavers are back.
Uh-huh.
I see some trees being gnawed down there at the transmitter
The
site.
beavers are back in town. The beavers are back in town.
Down, 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 down. You know what song that is?
Yeah.
That's Thin Lizzy. The beavers are back. The beavers are back. The beavers are back. Down, 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 down.
You're funny.
I'm funny looking. That's what I am.
With that too.
Is this show going anywhere this morning? Are we actually going to?
Does it ever go anywhere?
Of course, we come back to the fact. What's this show about, Shelley?
Nothing.
Yes, that's what this show is about. So when it goes off the tracks, we can talk about that. Okay,
we don't even have to fess up to it because it's like a known.
There's all sorts of strange things going on in the news. There's all sorts of crazy, weird, strange things going on in the news.
There is.
I mean, one of them was, I have to read this story. I'm going to read this on the air, and I know people are going to make fun of me for reading this. Maybe do it next hour. This guy who was apparently going to be the next play-by-play voice for the St. Louis Cardinals on TV and a little bit on radio turned down the job. And he's originally from St. Louis. He's born and raised here in St. Louis, something like that. He worked here in St. Louis, went to the broadcast center way back when.
Oh, yeah, with Rich Gebhardt?
No, that wasn't. That's not Rich Gebhardt.
That was the Danielle and
no, but
Daddy's time.
Was he involved with your dad? Involved with the broadcast center?
Rich Gebhardt came.
I don't think it was
to
Rich Gebhardt.
The Daddy's.
I think it was.
And to
I think it was
the Coal Hole.
I think it was Bill. What was Daddy's?
It was a nice little luncheon restaurant in where Walgreens was.
Can I tell you something?
The Galleria.
You can't have a restaurant named Daddy's anymore. It sounds kind of creepy now, don't you think?
Non-birthing person?
Oh, I got a good one on that. Wait till you hear the newest one on that. You're not going to believe that. There's a new term. There's a new term for women. We can't call women women. There's another new term for women. Now, keep in mind, let me get this straight. I am your host, Brad. I am a cisgendered, sapiosexual, heterosexual, non-birthing, pregnancy-inducing person. That's who I am.
Okay.
I have used that before, and people go, "What?" And I go, "I'm a dude."
Then you say, "I feel like a woman."
No, I'm not. But the key is pregnancy-inducing. See, that's the key. When you're cisgendered. Do you know what cisgendered means?
No.
First off, it's a made-up term. It was made up like 20 years ago. Cisgendered means you identify as how you were born. So you are a cisgendered woman. You identify as a female, and you were born as a female. So I'm going like, well, isn't that most people? Yes, that's most people. But we have to have a term for that because that's now, even though it's the majority, it's the minority. You're some derivation of, like I said, once again, I'm a cisgendered, sapiosexual, heterosexual, pregnancy-inducing, non-birthing person. That's what I am.
Okay.
And don't you forget it, or I'll be really mad at you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't want you mad at me.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah, that's a travesty.
We have to take a break. It is 6:42. Shelley begs me to play that song all the time, and I say, I don't know, Shelley. I don't know if we can play that song. She said, Brad, please, this morning, please, play the Divinals. Okay, Shelley, I'll play it.
It's very in-depth.
To say the
And
least.
there was a lot of words that made that song up.
She's from Australia. You know that, the Divinals?
I did not.
And I believe, unfortunately, she's dead. I mean,
Oh,
yeah,
27?
Well, no. I'm going to look at that real quick. I remember reading something about that. Can't remember. She's a very attractive woman. She was a fashion model. Let me see. Find Divinals. D-A. Hold on a minute. Hold on. Let me turn my mic off. You know, I never cough till I get on the air with you. What is it? I think it's your perfume or something like that.
Yeah, that's it.
It's not it. Divinals. V-I-N-L-S. V-Y-N-L. I can't find it. Oh. Anyway, I'll look it up later. I'm not going to look at that. I remember the story. You know, it's sad. You mentioned the 27 Club. Remember we talked about that in the past?
Yes.
All these famous people, mainly rock stars who died at the age of 27. Janis Joplin, Jim Morrison, just one after another. As a matter of fact, you know there's a Wikipedia page for that?
That doesn't surprise me.
I mean, here, if you go to Wikipedia, here, if I just put in 27 Club, I think that's all I can look it up for, 27. It's amazing how many people. It's like, yep, there it is, 27 Club. Okay. 27 Club, it is an informal list consisting mostly of popular musicians, artists, actors, and other celebrities who died at age 27. And it's interesting because it says, although the claim is a statistical spike, easy for you to say, for the death of musicians, the age has been refuted by scientific research. It remains a cultural phenomenon. And popular list, identified members. Okay, right off the top. There's some of them you don't know about. Rupert Brooke, Robert Johnson, Nate Jaffe, Jesse Belvin, Rudy Lewis, Joe Henderson, Malcolm Hale. These are all ones from like back in the 40s and 50s. Okay, if we go back into, what was it? It's time of death, a date of birth. Okay, let's go back into the 45s, 45ths. Pamela Wallace, Dave Alexander, Pete Ham, Gary Thane. Once again, people you don't necessarily know. Let's go in the 50s. Chris Bell, D. Boom, John Michael Biscuit. I mean, people you don't really know who about. Mia Zapata. Here we go. Here's one. Let's start the. This date of their death or date of birth? Let me look at this. Date of birth. Okay. Yeah. Here we go. Okay. Kurt Cobain was born in '67, so it bumps up into '67.
He passed away?
Oh yeah, a long time ago. Yeah. Kurt Cobain.
Did not know that.
Yeah, matter of fact, he died April 5th, 1994. Suicide.
Wow.
Richie Edwards. Freaky Ta. Remember Freaky Ta? Rico Yan. Jonathan Brandis. Jeremy Ward. Jade Goody. Dash Snow. Amy Winehouse. We play her.
Yep.
These are all people on Tyler Skaggs. Every last one of these is someone who died when they were 27. I mean, and it's sort of, it's one of those things like, okay, now hold on a minute. Jimi Hendrix, all those people, 27. Hard to believe he was only 27 when he died. And if you know the story, he was in the Vietnam War. He was drafted. He was, I believe, an infantryman. Let me try that again. Infantryman. I can't talk anymore. Ever since I had the stroke, you know what I mean? I just can't talk.
You need to stop.
Why do I need to stop?
Brad?
Okay. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
We have another new term for women.
What's that?
Transmasculine people with a cervix.
Ew.
I'm going like, can we stop this crazy stuff? The Washington State Department of Health is refusing to use the word woman in an advertisement about cervical cancer awareness. So instead of, here's what it says.
Well, hi, I'm John, and my wife has cervical cancer. Let me tell you what she's experiencing.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Are you ready for this? This is the ad from the Washington State Department of Health. Okay, I'm going to read it to you literally word for word. Transmasculine persons with a cervix should talk to their doctor about cervical cancer screening and the HPV vax. This is the ad. Transmasculine persons with a cervix should talk to their doctor about cervical cancer screening and the HPV vax. I'm not making fun of women who had cervical cancer. Unfortunately, I know several women who've had that, and it's not good. And if you remember back in the day, one of the big promoters of the HPV vaccine was Dr. Drew, who came out very early, probably back in the mid 90s, talking about how the HPV, what's human papilloma virus, I think is what it's for, was this terrible thing. It was a scourge of women and some men. Mainly women, but talked about how there was this vaccine that's being developed. I was going to revolutionize because, he's a doctor. He's an MD. And here they're saying transmasculine persons with a cervix. But it says...
Is it to scale?
Hold on. Somebody just sent me something. Is it what now?
Is it to scale?
To scale? What do you mean?
Never mind, Brad.
Okay. The smartest woman in the world just sent me an interesting list. These are a fully transitioned man who is now a woman has a cervix. Okay, whatever. I'm sorry. I just don't get it anymore. Can you explain this whole crazy thing we're going through with the sexual identity and the gender thing? I mean, to me, I'm going like...
No, I actually think it's a crime, like a literal crime, that we are asking three third graders what kind of, what kind of gender they want to be.
I just don't understand.
They need to worry about what kind of milk they're drinking after school, not what kind of sex they're going to be for the rest of their life. I just think that's wrong. I think it's immoral, and I think it's just horrible.
That's Shelley Barr. She doesn't mince words when it comes to that. Okay, the smartest
woman.
No,
I don't.
Smartest woman in the world sent me the list of aging musicians still with us in 2023. Willie Nelson, 89. Tina Turner, 83. Grace Slick, 83. Smokey Robinson, 82. Ringo Starr, 82. Bob Dylan, 81. Paul Simon, 81. Neil Diamond, 81. Brian Wilson, 80. Paul McCartney, 80. Roger Waters, 79. Steve Miller, 79. Barry Manilow, 79. Mick Jagger, 79. Peter Cetera, 78. Rod Stewart, 78. Boz Scaggs, 78. Ray Davies, 78. Carly Simon, 78. John Fogerty. These are all, I'll just read, these are all 77s. John Fogerty, Debbie Harry, Bob Seger, Eric Clapton, Roger Hodgson, Peter Townsend. These are all 76s. Linda Ronstadt and Barry Gibb. These are all 75s. Iggy Pop, Joe Walsh, Carlos Santana, Elton John. These are all 74s. Stevie Nicks, Alice Cooper, Robert Plant, Alan Parsons, Stevie Winwood. These are all 73s. Bruce Springsteen, Lionel Richie. These are all 72s. Peter Gabriel, Billy Squire, Billy Joel, Peter Frampton, Stevie Wonder. How do they get to be so old? Willie Nelson's the oldest one, 89.
I'm the one to talk because I don't know how I got this old.
But 89. 89. You know what? He's the poster child.
All the girls he's loved before.
No, he's the poster child for smoke lots of dope and end up an old guy like Willie, right? You'll live to 89. Yeah, smoke that wacky tobacco. Smoke that devil's lettuce, and you'll be just like Willie Nelson. You don't think?
Okay.
You don't think it extends your life?
Smoking and drinking?
Yeah. Well, no, I know smoking. I mean, using marijuana. That's what Willie Nelson is. You know, he's like Mr. Stoned all the time. He
was always Mr. Stoned.
Can I tell you something weird?
Sure.
My dad, who was like Mr. Show Tunes, like in his later years, got into Willie Nelson. I'm going like, Dad, you're listening to Willie Nelson? Oh, yeah, I love Willie Nelson. You hate country. My dad hated country music. Hated country music. He'd talk about country music where, you know why he hated country music? He told me the story. When he was in the Army, he was in basic training, and there were two or three guys in his unit who were from the South. I think 2 of the guys were from Nashville. One guy was someplace in Kentucky. And on Saturday night, when they were confined to their barracks, the world had to stop because they had to listen to the Grand Ole Opry from Nashville on the radio. They had to tune in the Grand Ole Opry from Nashville and listen to the radio, and everybody was told to be quiet because they were playing the Grand Ole Opry in the barracks my dad was in back when he was in the Army, when he was in basic training. I think actually right before he went overseas to fight in World War II. So my dad said he was tortured by all those country artists. Hated it. Hated all the twanging guitars. Hated all that, it's not violin, fiddle music. Hated that, all that kind of stuff. And that was when country was country. It wasn't like we have the bro country now. I mean, it was twang, 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 Ernest Tubb. Maybe Ernest Tubb came later. I don't know. But there used to be on Channel 5 in the morning at 6:30, to give you an idea how things have changed. There used to be a country western show they'd play. It was like an old country music show. Channel 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. Now they start their newscast at 2:30 in the morning or something like that. It's crazy. Okay, we have to take a break. We'll be right back. It is 6:59.
Boom.
Yes, we're changing the format to God Squad music. That's our first song. Shelley and I have found the light. We will no longer play heathen rock and roll kind of stuff. No more rap stuff. We are doing nothing but God Squad music. Right, Shelley?
That's absolutely not correct, but I do love that song.
So do I. I played it a couple times on a Friday, and people go, "Is that a Friday song?" To me, it is. I love, if you know the history of that song, it was recorded actually, it's the Edwin Hawkins Singers, and it was actually recorded in a church.
For Sister Act.
No, it wasn't for Sister Act.
Yes, it was.
No, this goes back to the 60s.
Oh.
This song's recorded like 1968 or something like that. Hold on, let me look at here. Well, I can't, right? I'll talk about that in a minute. I'll look it up in a minute. But
okay.
Yeah, that's the original version. The Whoopi Goldberg redid it for Sister Act. But the original version was the Edwin Hawkins Singers. And I believe someplace in Los Angeles or something like that. Los Angeles or San Francisco, one of the two. Okay. If you have someone who has broken your heart, you can no longer have to live the rest of your life brokenhearted. You can just travel to San Antonio on Valentine's Day. Because you know why?
The Sweetheart Walk?
No. The San Antonio Zoo is having a solution for the loathing lover, okay?
Okay.
The San Antonio Zoo is hosting their annual Cry Me a Cockroach fundraiser, where
Ew.
individuals can name a cockroach, rodent, or head of lettuce after their ex and feed it to a zoo animal.
No, that's actually cathartic.
Imagine the gratitude of feeding Brian the cockroach to a resident lizard, watching an anaconda swallow up Mike the rodent, or serving up Jessica the lettuce head to a kangaroo and her Joey. While this may
I would love that.
While these may seem slightly gruesome, patrons are actually mending their broken hearts with a good deed. Not only are the animals of the San Antonio Zoo receiving a scrumptious meal, but all the proceeds from purchasing a cockroach, rodent, or head of lettuce help to fund the San Antonio Zoo, which is a completely nonprofit organization. So you can... That's one of those things like, okay, whatever. It's whatever. Okay.
I can do that to the top of your hairline.
Okay. Now, this story, and once again, I'm not making fun of our president. I'm just saying, okay, here we go again. This is our federal government at work. Okay. The other day, what was it, Wednesday, we talked about this, that for a long time, the Ukrainians have been asking for our MBT, what they call the main battle tank, which is the Abrams M1A1. And the other day, President Biden said he's going to send 31 Abrams. Remember, I think we talked about this yesterday. 31 Abrams M1 tanks to Ukraine he said, you talked about this on Wednesday. Okay, we talked about it yesterday, yes. He said he's going to send 31 Abrams M1 tanks to Ukraine on Wednesday. Now, here's the only problem. They don't exist.
Okay.
The New York Post reported that the Pentagon has confirmed that the U.S. does not have enough of the M1 tanks in its stockpile to send over to Ukraine at this time. They have to make them. Quote, we don't just have these tanks available in excess in our stocks, which is why it is going to take months, possibly years, to transfer these M1A2 Abrams to Ukraine. The article goes on to talk about if the tanks were in the Pentagon's possession, it would take less than a week to get the tanks boxed and shipped. They don't box them up. They don't box them. Anyway, but when using the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative, or USAI program, it could take months or years because the government goes through a procurement to identify and hire contractors to build the tanks. They don't even have the tanks. They're not even built. I mean, like, it'd be like me saying, hey, Shelley, I'm going to, you know what I want to give you today? You know, you've been so good with me in the air, and I appreciate all the hard work you put on. I'm going to buy you a 2027 Corvette, and I'm going to give it to you today. And you're going to go, Brad, it's 2023. They haven't started making the 2027 Corvettes yet. Oh, really? You mean they haven't started making them? Well, when they do, Shelley, I'm going to give you that brand new 2027 Corvette. I mean, can you believe this? He says we're going to send him tanks. There are no tanks.
I prefer to have Lincoln Navigator because, quite frankly, I couldn't get out of a Corvette.
Yes, you could.
No, I couldn't.
I used to have a Corvette. The reason I got rid of it was because my wife got pregnant and she couldn't get in and out of a Corvette anymore, so I had to sell it. To this day,
I have the body of a pregnant lady, so there.
I hold that against my oldest son. I every once in a while I'll say to him, Brett, you know, I had a Corvette and I had to sell it because of you, buddy. Yes, you.
Oh, Brad, the dad, calm down.
So we're going to give the Ukrainians tanks, but we don't have them yet. They haven't been built yet. Sometimes what bothers me is when you're a politician on all levels, you can say practically anything. You can just say weird stuff. I told you the story when we went through the election cycle in November, and I've told this story to people before. If a client would come to us, like politician, let's say Bill Eigel, Nick Schroyer, okay, comes to us and buy advertising. First off, that would never happen because they'd never buy any advertising on our station. It would never happen. But if they did, they could use every foul word in the English language. If they could come on and say, yeah, I'm Nick Schroyer, and I'm going to effing clean up Jefferson City. Yeah, there's enough S going on in Jefferson City that, and they could use every foul word. We can't do anything. As a federally licensed FCC radio station, if it were Joe the drain cleaner man, we couldn't do that. I couldn't say those words without having the license revoked. But yet the politicians can, because we can't change their language. They can get away with anything. They can F-bomb on the radio. They can S-bomb on the radio. Hey, no problem. It's a politician. Matter of fact, you don't believe me, years and years and years and years ago, there was a guy right here in St. Louis. His name was Barry Commoner, and he was a professor at Washington University. Matter of fact, he's like the originator of the Green Party. He's like started the Green Party, and he was running for president on the Green Party ticket. And he bought advertising on CBS Radio Network, and he started out his ad by saying, BS, 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 BS. The only thing is, he didn't use the initials. He said the two words. Are one word if you just stick them together. And that was a big controversy because the ad ran on KMOX, and they had to run a disclaimer. They'd said, in a minute, we're going to play an ad, which is very distasteful to most listeners. But unfortunately, we're forced to run this ad because the rules and regulations of the FTC or the FEC and the FCC are that we cannot alter what a candidate is going to say in his advertising. So once again, if you're offended by harsh language, please turn your radio off now because we can't stop this guy from saying nasty stuff on the radio. Okay, so how do the politicians get a pass on that? I mean, if I did it, I wouldn't have a license anymore, right?
Because they're like frat brothers.
I guess. We can give tanks to the Ukrainians, but that we don't have yet. But we're going to give you those tanks.
I'm just shaking my head.
The smartest woman says, we don't use M1A1 tanks anymore, so we have a stockpile to dispose of. Not according to the New York Post. New York Post says we don't have any to give to Ukraine. Okay. This is not true. I told you to keep that car. We had another car. Then we bought that stupid K car.
What's a K car?
K car was the car that saved Chrysler, and it was a piece of, and my one son would say, piece of junk. Actually, piece of junk.
It was a K car, wasn't it?
Yes.
I remember that. It was like Ward and June Cleaver's car.
Well, it was like a box on wheels. But,
yes.
But honestly, it was very revolutionary in its time because it was unibody, it was front wheel drive. It was like very, very different than any, and it literally saved Chrysler. It was the Flintstones mobile. Hold on a minute. I'm having a bad day today. I mean, this show's going off the rails. Okay.
Why?
Okay. Here's another good one. Okay, you know who James Dolan is?
No.
He's the CEO of Madison Square Garden. They own the New York Knicks, and they own the New York Knicks. And what do they own? They own the hockey team. I can't remember the New York Nets, or I don't know who they own. They own Madison Square Garden. It's MSG Corporation, which also owns Radio City Music Hall. They own all this stuff in New York City. Okay, they have put facial recognition cameras on the entrances to the Madison Square Garden. And who are they kicking out? When you know what facial recognition software is?
I do.
Okay, so in other words, it's set up so that if you're looking for a person, you put this person's picture into the computer, and when their picture shows up on your facial recognition camera, it alarms. It comes off. Like doo 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 doo. So who are all the pictures of that are showing up on the facial recognition camera that's getting kicked out of the Madison Square? New York Knicks. Yeah, they own the New York Knicks and the New York Rangers. Okay. Who are all the people who are on the facial recognition cameras who are getting kicked out of Madison Square Garden? Take a guess. They are a profession. Attorneys.
Oh, I was thinking prostitutes.
No, attorneys. When attorneys come into the Madison Square Garden, they've got all these attorneys loaded into the facial recognition software. When attorneys come in, they are tracked, and a security guard goes to where their seat is and tells them they are not welcome and they are hereby have to leave. Can you believe this? And the reason for this is, and it's actually sort of an interesting story, the guy who he's the CEO of Madison Square Garden, James Dolan, is tired of being sued by attorneys. And these are attorneys that, and when you think about it, this is actually sort of funny. And he's, let me see if I can find the interview. It's pretty interesting because he talks about the fact that here, let me just plug this in a minute. Let me just play this a little minute. And it's pretty interesting because, let me see if this is going to work. It may not work. Let me do this and see if this is going to play. Hold on a minute.
Straight, the man behind MSG, James Dolan, Executive Chairman, CEO of Madison Square Garden. Nice to have you here.
Thanks, Rosanna.
So what is going on with facial recognition and the policy that you have?
Well, look, facial recognition, right, is just a technology, right? I mean, when I walked into the studio, right, did you recognize my face?
I did.
Facial recognition, right? So, I mean, technology just makes you better at it, right? The real issue that's going on here is our policy of not letting attorneys, right, and who are suing us into our building until they're done, right, suing us. When they're done, they're very much welcome back. But look at it this way, right? If you owned a bakery or a restaurant, right, and someone comes in and buys bread from you, and then the next day they serve you with a lawsuit because they hated your bread, right? They said something happened to them with it, et cetera. Then the next day they show up at your bakery again and they say, I'd like to buy some more bread, right? Would you sell them the bread?
I don't know if I would sell it, but listen, you're getting a lot of heat from everybody.
I mean, if your next door neighbor's...
It's pretty funny. I mean, the attorneys that are suing him, he's put into the facial recognition system, and they get kicked out. Now, I'm thinking to myself, more power to the dude. You know what I mean?
Those are women.
What's that?
Nothing. Go on.
No, I mean, get what I'm saying? I mean, like, I totally agree with him. Because a lot of these suits are people that tripped over
frivolous.
Yeah, and he goes on to talk about these are ambulance chaser attorneys and things like that.
We are a litigious society.
Well, but the point being is now Letitia James, who is the Attorney General of New York, who went after Trump, who's still going after Trump, who got elected because of the fact, excuse me, I get my hiccups again. She got elected because she was going after Trump. She said that, elect me and I'll put Trump in jail. Okay, we need to, you know what we need to do? We need to bring her to St. Louis, and we need to tell her, hey, Trump had a lot of kids, and they're all running around in St. Louis. They're all Trump's kids, and they're carjacking, and they're shooting people, and they're stealing, and they're breaking into cars. They're all Trump's illegitimate kids. And she'd go, well, I'm going to throw them all in jail, right? That's what we need. We need her here. Anyway, she said she's going to sue him because you can't discriminate against attorneys. I don't know if is an attorney a protected class. I mean, if you say, there's a lot of people that don't like attorneys. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And because they've had bad situations in the past with attorneys. In fact, I was in a room full of them just yesterday, but that's a whole other story. But I think it's funny. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, go for it, And the whole recognition software is, to a certain extent, is sort of creepy. Because do you know there's subdivisions doing this now? Do you know Winghaven does this? Do you know this? Are you there? Did I lose you?
Sorry, I was distracted. What?
I said Winghaven subdivision has facial and license plate recognition cameras running right now.
Oh, they do not.
I swear to God, they do. I can go take a picture. I can tell you exactly where it's at. If you're going south on...
They also have boulders and pineapple.
No, that's another story. If you're going...
It is.
If you're going south on Bryan Road, when you cross over 364, right there at Highway N, it turns into Winghaven Boulevard. Okay, it's Bryan Road
yes.
up until 364 and Bryan Road. Not exactly where it changes, but it changes right there.
Yes.
Once you get a little bit south of... Once you go by your favorite place, you know what I'm talking about? You know what your favorite place in the world is? Who is our largest advertiser? God, we wouldn't be on the air if it wasn't for those guys, right? You know what I'm talking about?
I'm not going to play with your shenanigans today, Brad.
That place where they serve the barbecue, that's our biggest advertiser in the radio station that Shelley's always talking about.
Again, not going to play.
Okay, if you go a little bit south of that, there is a pole with a sign on it with a camera that takes everybody's license plate and their picture. I'm telling you. I've seen it on Channel 5.
That's part of the red light district.
No, it's not. It's put up by the Homeowners Association.
Really?
Yes, there's a whole new technology called ALPR, Automated License Plate Readers. A whole new technology. ALPR. And there is a whole new technology called ALPR. And matter of fact, if you have a home security system, there are a couple of systems right now that you can integrate ALPR into your home security system. If you want to know who pulls into your driveway, not only will your security camera pick up that somebody pulled into your driveway, it will automatically record their license plate. And if you buy the high-end version, it'll tell you the model of the car, the color of the car, and if you have law enforcement access, it'll tell you who owns the car, all automatically. So they're doing this in Winghaven. I'm telling you, I'll drive out there today just to prove you. I'll take a picture of the thing. It's on a sign, and I think they have.
Yeah, I'm from Missouri. Show me.
They started with one. I think they have 3 or 4 of them now, and they're automated license plate readers. But they also got.
Aren't they illegal?
No. Matter of fact, I don't know if you remember this or not. When we had one of our Meet the Legislator things with the O'Fallon Chamber. If you remember this, I think you were there. This is maybe 3 or 4 years ago. The chief of police, I think that was chief number 362. I think they're on chief of police in O'Fallon number 596 now. They keep chiefs like 6 months and they're gone. Anyway, the chief of police at the time, who was the acting chief of police, talked about the fact that they were in partnership with the residents of Winghaven, and Winghaven was giving them information on cars that were in the neighborhood that shouldn't be in the neighborhood. Because what happens is not only does it take your license plate number, it also gives you a printout of how many times that license plate number has been seen on the cameras. So in other words, if you're not a resident, Why are you driving through Winghaven all the time? Now, a lot of people go up and down Winghaven as a shortcut down to Highway 40, so that could be the situation there too. But they have one on Winghaven Boulevard, and I believe they have a couple of them actually in the subdivision as well too. And because, like you say,
I wonder how that's that cop from Hee Haw Hell, Iowa, got me.
It wasn't a cop; it was just a machine.
There's got to be something that
it's just
looks at it.
Yeah, it's just a camera sitting on a highway somewhere. Shelley still gets mad about the fact that she got a ticket in Iowa from a speed camera.
I did. My best friend died. I hadn't slept all night for 3 days, really. I thought, well, I'll just get on the road and I'll stop at a truck stop. They don't have those in Iowa.
They're illegal.
Well, there's something because they're not there.
They're illegal. You can't have truck stops in Iowa.
Then I pulled over in this little nook, and then I'm trying to be aware of my surroundings, and I look up, and there's bars on the windows. I just didn't need to stop there.
Were you sleeping there?
I was going to until I noticed all the bars on the windows.
Well, you were at the county jail then, right?
No, I was at some convenience store parking lot.
Well, let me tell you, I don't go into any C-store unless it has bars on the windows. I mean, because of the fact that some people go to the casino to gamble. I go to C-stores in the bad neighborhoods to gamble. Okay, will I get robbed here? Nope. Well, I don't want to go here then.
Well, I had to rethink, which was hard because... I wasn't thinking well at all at that moment in time. But,
just then?
I'm sorry?
I said just then?
Just then what?
Never mind.
What?
Never mind.
Oh, no, please finish.
No.
That's why I want to be justified.
You said, I wasn't thinking well, and I said, just then? Get it?
Oh.
Hey, Shelley, you know what? I'm going to send I feel bad that you're not in the best of mood today. I'm going to send you an Abrams M1 A1 tank. You don't mind, do you? Oh, I don't have one. I'm sorry.
Please? Oh, my goodness. One. That would put me in such a good mood.
We'll roll across your driveway and it'll crack up all that new concrete that they poured in your subdivision, right?
Why? It's got oil all over it.
Okay, we're going to take a break at 7:27.
Huge puddles.
I love the way that song ends. The can just crushes and the song's over. Bang,
yeah,
just
like that.
But
you talk over it and we never get to hear the can crush.
I don't talk until the can's crushed.
I didn't hear the can crush. All I heard was you blah, blah, blahing.
Wow, aren't you nice? Okay, smartest woman in the world once again comes through. She
always does.
She's got information. The cameras, there's a brand name, the brand of the camera that they're using. And she said they're all over St. Charles County now. She says the homeowners association, she lives in a homeowners association. They're talking about putting them in her homeowners association. They're all over the place. And it's by the company that's named Flock, F-L-O-C-K. And you know why they named that camera, the Flock camera?
Because of ducks, they flock.
No, because what happens is when they get the criminals, they catch them in the act. They have the security camera, the Flock camera that caught the picture of them, going into a subdivision and stealing stuff, and they present that evidence in court to the scofflaw, the person that's been, and 9 times out of 10, after they show the video of this guy, or could be gal nowadays, or could be a non-birthing person or a birthing person, after they show the video to this person, 9 out of 10 of the criminals go, "Flock that camera."
Is that true?
Oh, yeah. They go, "Flock that camera."
I can see that.
So they named it.
That's why I'm asking you if it's true.
So they named it the Flock camera.
Oh, they did not. Stop it. You know what? Mm-mm. Someday I'm just going to wake up and go, I'm not playing Brad today.
You don't believe me? Okay. Now, okay, I'm going to read this. And I'm not making fun of this guy, but maybe I'm making fun of the guy.
Maybe so, a little bit.
The guy's name is Aaron Goldsmith. Once upon a time, he lived here in St. Louis. He's a young guy, I don't know, maybe 35, 40, something like that. He was one of the guys, matter of fact, he was the prime contender for the job to replace Dan McLaughlin, who left the Bally Sports Medicine booth Bally Sports Midwest booth by mutual decision last month after facing drunken driving charges, blah, 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 blah.
Aw.
Aaron Goldsmith grew up in St. Louis and has much big league broadcasting experience, was firmly in the running for the position, perhaps even leading the candidate before he withdrew his name from consideration last weekend. I'm out of it, okay?
Why?
He's been broadcasting Seattle Mariners games for the last decade and is entrenched in Seattle with his wife. He and his wife have 3 children ages younger than 9, and those ties heavily contributed to his decision. He said, now get this, quote, I imagine anyone with a family can relate to having to balance career goals and family life, he told the Post-Dispatch. That gets amplified further when contemplating uprooting your family to essentially start over halfway across the country. In one of my early conversations with a Bally executive, I made it clear that while I was absolutely interested in the job in St. Louis, I was also very happy where I was, both professionally and personally. I knew it would take a lot for us to move, but I also knew that becoming the TV voice of the St. Louis Cardinals was, to me, the most attractive job this business offers. He went on to say, I knew I could not take that job. When I thought about talking to my kids about this years down the road, when they're old enough to understand life a little bit, if they were to ask me, Dad, why did we move from Seattle to St. Louis? I would have to tell them, so that Dad could be more famous and make more money. And we all know those are just terrible reasons. What's wrong with you?
Wow. I mean, really, wow.
I read this, I thought to myself, what is wrong with this guy? He should say, okay, Dad, why did we move from Seattle to St. Louis? Because it's a great job. I made a lot more money, and it's my childhood home, and I could broadcast for the Cardinals. That's why, you stupid little kid. That's what he should have said.
And all roads lead back to the Lou.
Right.
I don't care how long you've been gone, you will come back.
Right. He says, I'm sorry, I read this, I'm thinking to myself, okay, that's a little bit too much. You know what? They should make this into a Hallmark movie. You know what I mean? Oh, here's Aaron Goldsmith. He's grew up in St. Louis and he's loved the Cardinals and he's got a chance to come back and be a broadcaster in the Cardinals. But what does he do? He sits down with his kids and say, kids, I got a chance to be very famous and make a lot of money. But because of you, I'm not leaving. I'm staying right here in this wonderful city called Seattle, where it rains all the time. And you got all these crazy people that are trying to, burn down the police department. And you got all these crazy people that want to fire all the police officers, and they want chaos to run rampant in the streets of Seattle. And you got all these billionaires, like, all the tech billionaires who just want to rule the world and watch every word, every move you make. That's why I want to stay here in Seattle, because Seattle is so wonderful and the weather's just so great, and I feel so good when I'm out there walking around every day soaking in the vitamin D from the sunshine I get in Seattle. Oh no, hold it, that's not right. I'm sorry, I'm making fun of the guy. I am making fun of the guy. Dude,
you are.
Your kids
and the location where he lives.
Your kids are younger than 9. It would be different if they were in high school. That's always.
Yeah, but at that age, they're deciding on whether or not they want to be a boy or a girl.
That's right. At 8.
I mean, if they can decide their gender,
mommy,
maybe they can decide where they want to live in St. Louis,
mommy and daddy,
or Seattle.
At school, they talked about the fact that you might think you're a girl, but you're really a boy. Mommy and daddy, what am I?
Isn't that ridiculous?
I don't.
I mean, there's still Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny, for crying out loud.
Okay, here's the interesting thing to me. Okay, you can't drink till you're 21. Okay, you can't vote till you're 18. You can't get a driver's license till you're 16. Okay.
Yep.
Why is that? If we're going to say,
because you don't make smart, intelligent choices and huge decisions based on a 3-year-old's mind.
And why are
a 3-grader mind.
And why are the best soldiers men between 18 and 24? You know why that is? Because
they're fearless.
They're still crazy in the head. You know what I mean? They're still, they don't understand, they're just like, hey, go see that guy. We're going to attack him. We're going to throw grenades at a tank. Okay, Sarge, we're going. You tell that to a 45-year-old. You go, hey, Sarge, if I throw a grenade at that tank, I don't think it's going to do anything because that tank has 3 inches of armor and a grenade's not going to do, but an 18-year-old, hey, you kid, go throw a grenade at that tank. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know what I mean? I don't get it. At times I'm thinking to myself, I had this, God, I want to go on this, get myself in trouble with this, talk about my kids. I'm thinking to myself, I did have this discussion the other day with their mother. And I go, you know what? We got 4 kids. We dodged a bullet. And we talked about this very thing, about the fact that wouldn't you hate to be bringing up kids right now with all this weird stuff that's going on? And once again, it's to the point where all I hear from the education department and stuff like that is critical race theory. Can you teach them math? Can you teach them how to do, trigonometry and stuff like that? But yet we can't teach them a trade. Oh, that's terrible. There was the thing, micro, I think I put this on my Facebook page the other day. Micro, you know who Micro is?
I think I do.
Micro is the guy who did Dirty Jobs. He did the TV show. And now he's become this huge, huge proponent of trades. And I heard him on a talk show the other day. He said that for every 3 tradesmen who are retiring, there's only 1 guy to replace him. We're talking carpenters, electricians, mechanics.
There are jobs out there, very proficient businesses that will teach them.
But why?
Will send them to school.
Why is that? Because their minds have been polluted by the educational system. That they go to college, go to college, get a college degree, get a degree in advanced basket weaving, get a degree. Oh, don't get your fingernails dirty. Oh my God, don't turn a wrench. A wrench is terrible. Don't touch that wrench. You could get chrome poisoning.
Wrench paid my rent for years.
Let me put it to you this way: I've saved myself probably tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars through the years, maybe at this point in my life, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars by fixing my own car. The crazy thing is I never was taught that. I was sort of self-taught. Now, today with YouTube, if I got a project, I'm going let me think about this for a minute. I'll pull it up on YouTube. And if I'm looking at one of my cars, there's 10 guys showing you how to do it. And you go through and you watch 3 or 4 and you go, okay, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. This guy's FOS. No, this guy, okay, this guy. And there's always like the master mechanic. Oh, hey, boys and girls, this is Jim, the master mechanic. Yeah, I do this every day at the Ford dealership. Let me show you how to put this starter on a 65 Ford Torino, and you watch it, a 20-minute video. You go, okay, got it. You go out, you grab your wrenches, you do it in an hour. It's done. But yet the problem is there's nobody teaching. I don't think in the Francis Howell district are are in what's the other big one in help me, my mind's blank right now. Fort Zumwalt. I'm thinking of Bernie DeBray, but I couldn't remember the name of the school district. Okay, I don't think there's any woodworking or any metalworking classes anymore. I don't think there's any of that stuff like that. I
think they did away with all that a long time ago.
My teacher friends, if I want to...
I still have my dustpan.
Your dustpan? Everything.
I do.
See, if you want to tick off a teacher, like I do, if I get in an argument with them, they say, well, look at you. Look, you're doing well for yourself, And I'll say to them, you know what my 2 most important classes I ever took in my entire K through 12 was?
Keyboarding and shop.
No. Keyboarding, at the time it was typing and driver's ed. What do I do all day long? I type and I drive. That's what I do all day long. I drive my car. I go to see clients. I go to transmitter sites to fix things. I type on my computer. That's what I do all day long. My 2 most important classes, typing and driver's ed. Okay? And we don't teach that anymore. Nobody, there's no driver's ed classes anymore, at least that I know of. And they talk about, oh, it's terrible. All these young kids get killed. Teach them how to drive right. Teach them driver's ed. Teach them how left, right, left again. You know what I mean? Look left, look right, look left again. That's still ingrained in my head. When I make a left turn, left, look right, look left again. It's every single time. I learned that in driver's ed. It was drilled into my head by Mr. Salinardi, who drove us around, and he said to us in a New York accent, hey, boys, if you see a good-looking girl, honk the horn, and if they wave, we'll go back and pick her up. That was my driver's ed teacher.
What a hound.
And then we went to his brother's bar on West Florissant in Delwood.
Oh, my.
My driver's ed teacher, yes. And he'd come out with smell of beer on his breath. We'd smell it. As soon as my driver's ed teacher, he'd go, to teach us how to drive. He had to be a little bit under the influence. You know what I'm saying? He had to be a little bit drunk.
Fair enough.
Right. He had to be a little bit pre-lubricated, right? Okay. Are you having fun this morning, Shelley?
I am. I always have fun with you, Brad.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Listen to you. Okay. We have to take a break. It's 7:46. It is BS.Show. Oh, one of my favorite all-time songs. I love that song. Trace Adkins, one of my heroes. He is one of my role models in life. A guy who's had all sorts of bad things happen to him, but just keeps plugging away. As a young man, got his nose torn off in a car accident. Had one of his fingers chopped off. His wife at the time shot him with a gun. The bullet went through one lung, his heart, and then the other lung, and he lived, and he didn't divorce her.
Well, he double dared her.
I mean, is the guy a man or man? He's man's man. He's not some wimpy dude. He's a man's man. Mm-hmm. Imagine that, at the hospital, honey, come on in here. Trace, I'm sorry I shot you. The bullet went through both your lungs and your heart. Honey, I still love you. Come here, give me a kiss. Can you imagine that?
You sound like a perv.
No. I don't sound like, I love his voice. Trace talks like that. He's got a part. Have you ever seen the movie The Lincoln Lawyer?
Of course I have.
He's the head of the motorcycle gang. Did you know that?
He is.
Yeah, he's really good in that movie. He doesn't have many lines, but they're all really, really well done.
They are.
Yeah, he's about
very well done.
In probably about a third of the way through the movie, and he's near the end of the movie. Okay, good old Trace Adkins. Yep. Okay.
Big boy.
We have somebody else to make fun of. Okay, ready?
Please don't let me Trace Adkins because he will pop us like a tick.
No, I would never make fun of Trace. He's like 6'9" and has
he's a lumberjack.
Right. I would never want to cross that dude. Okay, Yogesh Raut. You know who Yogesh Raut is?
I have no clue.
Yogesh. That's his first name. Yogesh, last name Raut. R-A-U-T. He lives in Vancouver, Washington. He's semi-famous because of the fact that he has been a big winner on Jeopardy. So far, I think this month alone, he's won $96,403.
Wow.
But he's come out and he's made fun of the show Jeopardy.
Why, stupid?
Because he says it's a terrible show. And more importantly, he says, quote, he argued that putting the show, quote, on a pedestal is an objectively bad thing and bad for the future of quizzing. And then he went on to say, the main problem with Jeopardy is it's racist. I'm going like, okay, here we go. Why is Jeopardy racist? Can you explain that to me?
I can't.
I mean, there's lots of women on there. There's lots of men. There's lots of different, races, colors, creeds, religions. It's all sorts of crazy different people on there. It's like, sometimes it's like a cross section of the United States. You know what I'm saying? And you've got guys in there. Yeah, there's white bread guys on there, but there's women on there. There's black people. And he's some dude from where, I don't know where. He looks like he's like, Middle Eastern or something like that. I don't know where he's from, but he says it's racist. I'm going like, I don't understand anything anymore. Everything's just racist. Like you go to White Castle, it's racist because it's white. It should be called the Black Castle. The White House, oh, it's racist because it's white. Okay, I don't, explain that to me. I mean, why is everything like we have to look at everything in a lens of race and gender identity nowadays? Well, he identifies as, God, don't get me going.
You get your own self going.
The problem is, what's going to happen?
What?
Remember that movie? The movie, it was just on TV a little bit more than a month ago. Right before Christmas. A Christmas Carol.
It's a Wonderful Life?
No, A Christmas Carol. A Christmas Carol, where Ebenezer Scrooge goes to bed one night. This is going to be...
yeah.
Whatever his name is. Ragesh Yaugi, whatever the heck his name is, okay? He's going to go to bed one night, and then there's going to be 3 different people that are going to show up in his dreams. The first one's going to be, who was the original host of Jeopardy? Used to be on KMOX here in St. Louis. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-mm.
Art Fleming. He's first going to have the ghost of
yeah.
Art Fleming show up. Hi. Yogesh, this is Art Fleming, and you've been a terrible person. Let me show you how your terrible things you said about Jeopardy have going to impact the rest of your life. And he took him and showed him like, little Jimmy Smith, whose father couldn't get on Jeopardy. And because of the fact his father couldn't get on Jeopardy because he was a white guy, they wouldn't put him on Jeopardy. And little Jimmy Smith died because he couldn't get the operation that he needed because his parents couldn't afford it. And then the second guy shows up.
That's not true.
And the second ghost comes up.
Stop it.
And it's Alex Trebek. And Alex Trebek says, and Yogesh, let me show you what has happened because of Jeopardy. And you see people that, once again, they're down in the luck. They're living in like a trash can on the bad side of the city, and they show up in Jeopardy, and they made millions of dollars, and now they have a nice house, they bought a business, they employ 5,000 people, their kids have all gone off to Harvard. And then the third ghost is the guy who they threw off. And he says, Yogesh, you're right, because they threw me off Jeopardy because I said something wrong. It's a bunch of racist people that run this show, and they're terrible. And Yogesh says, see, I was right.
Mm-hmm.
You don't believe me, do you?
No.
Why not?
Do you know that Vanna White was picked because her head is big?
Thank you, Shelley Bard.
It's true.
Do you know, you want to know Vanna White trivia? Do you know
What?
Vanna White was once a contestant on Price is Right? Did you know this story?
I do not.
Yes, she was a contestant out of the audience of The Price is Right. Did you know that? And
No.
you are right
She was
because
probably picked because her head was big.
you are right because of the fact that
Oh, well, I'm sorry. Let's circle back.
No,
What did you say?
You are right because no, you know who the producer of Jeopardy was?
No.
Merv Griffin. And Merv Griffin said that people on television with big heads are more trusted and they're more appealing than people with small heads. Because Merv Griffin had a big head. So you have a big old melon and you get to be a TV star. Pat Sajak has a big head for his size. And so does Vanna White.
Yep.
And I can make a comment, but I'm going to stop right there.
That's probably a good thing.
Shelley, thanks for your comment about Vanna White.
You're welcome.
Man, my phone's been going off crazy. I got people calling me out this morning.
Hey, how'd you do on yesterday? Did you have people call you out yesterday?
About what? What did I say?
Your interview?
That was Wednesday.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's gotten a lot of traction. Matter of fact.
Has it?
Yeah, positive and negative. We interviewed how am I getting old?
Sean Hayes.
Sean Hayes. Not the guy from TV, but the local guy who's the banker who made all sorts of money. And I've actually had some very nasty comments from people that said I should never put him on the air. And I always find it fascinating, people that have traumatic things happen in their life. With him, it was his own doing. Wasn't like he got hit by a train or anything like that. And they turned their life around. And I really do believe he's turned his life around. And one of the things he told me after, because, I sent him the interview, I recorded it and sent it to him, and he told me that what he didn't say on the air was he is doing restitution. He's paying money to the people that he defrauded. So it's not like he's getting off free. And once again, he said that he will not take any money from the book. The book will not be, and first off, you can't make hardly any money on books.
Yeah, that's illegal.
No, if you put Shelley book on, Shelley's stories on Amazon.com and it sold 10 million copies. No, you'd maybe get $5,000. You just make like practically nothing for that anymore. Most of the time, people write books, except for Prince Harry, and Meghan with their book, whatever his book is like, which is all-time record sell. Who is buying that book? I don't understand. Who would buy that book? Would you buy that book?
I actually would. Chicks are buying the book, Brad.
You know what?
What?
We fought those darn British people back in 1776. We won the war. We didn't like the fact that they were terrible monarchs, that they made us use if you were in England, they made us use their religion. You had to do this, you had to do that. You get thrown in prison if you owed somebody money. We fought the English because we didn't like them. Now we love them? Now we love their monarchy? No, sorry. That's not me. I'm just like, we've got our own monarchy in the United States. We've got the Kennedys and the Biden family and the Bush family. Those are our own monarchs. You know what I mean? And who's the other one? In Missouri, we used to have the who's the guy? He's the state senator. His son used to be the governor. You know what I'm talking about.
Mel Carnahan?
No, well, they had the Carnahan, thing. Like look at, we have our own royalty. These people who are like, okay, what do you do for a living? Well, I'm the son of so-and-so. What do the Kennedys do for a living? What do the Bushes do?
We'll never be royals, Brad.
We'll never be royals.
Royals.
Okay, we have to take our...
You should play that.
No, we have to take our last break. And
it's 8:01. We're late.
I know. It's Friday. We can do that.
Oh, we can.
I got an email from the FCC last night say, Brad, we understand it's Friday tomorrow. You can go a little bit long tomorrow. Okay.
I love the FCC.
Oh, they take care of us.
Thank you.
I got an email from them just yesterday. It's 8:02. The late, great Sammy Davis Jr. One of my all-time favorite songs.
Gotta be free.
That's from a musical somewhere. What musical is that from? Do you know?
I do not know, but I have a feeling it was with Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra.
No. It's from some Broadway music. I gotta be... Let me see.
I only saw him in... the Dean Martin show.
I'm trying to think what's...
Or was it Frank Sinatra show? Or Bing Crosby?
One of those shows.
One of those shows.
You'll narrow it down.
They're all like these amazing men, so...
Okay, it's from the Broadway The
Music Man?
I Gotta Be Me, from the Broadway musical Golden Rainbow? I'm playing a different version of it. Okay. Anyway, Golden Rainbow.
Are you tapping something?
No, I'm on my computer. Am I tapping something?
You were tapping something.
Getting a little personal, aren't you?
Tap, 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 tap.
Okay.
I tap that.
Never mind.
It's time for us to go, Brad. It is 8:07.
I think Shelley just realized what she was saying.
Yes, she did. It's time for us to go.
Shelley.
Brad.
Thanks for a great Friday morning.
It has been lovely, has it not?
We've made a difference in the world. We've figured out that Joe Biden's giving away tanks he doesn't have.
I guess there's no tanks for him.
Right? No.
Tanks a lot. Yeah, tanks a lot,
yeah,
Joe.
Yeah, the Ukrainian president saying, "No tanks, Joe. Tanks.
No
tanks, Joe.
No tanks to you.
No tanks, Joe. What happened to my tanks? Well, we haven't built them yet. We got to build them. How long does it take to build a tank? Oh, a couple years. Okay, we'll wait for those tanks. I'm sorry.
I can't even go through with that. Everybody have a great weekend. I will have a great weekend. Brad, you gonna have a good weekend?
I am. Oh, hold it. Somebody just called me. Oh, who's this on the phone? Senator John Kennedy's on the phone? Oh, okay. Oh, Senator Kennedy, you want to thank me for a great show today?
Congratulations, butthead.
That's about right. Thanks, Senator.
He loves me.
He does. He loves you. He really, really loves you.
Let's get out of here before
it's 8:08. Have a great day, everybody. Peace and I fly.
Before we totally lose it, right? And,
yeah,
and as Shelley would say,
woohoo! Woohoo!
Woohoo! And by the way, my Corvette's in a locked garage, okay? So it's not like you're sitting out in the street.
Woohoo! Yeah, Don't you're just heart match it together. Kabuki.
Woo-hoo!
Let's go.
And by the way, my Corvette's in a locked garage, okay? So it's not like you're sitting out in the street.
I just know that the monkeys throw poo at you.
Woo-hoo!
They
Google may
do
have
that.
to lay off up to 25 members of Congress. So everyone should take their meds and chill.
I agree.
The world's not a patch on our genes.
Woohoo! If you're drunk, nothing is better than biscuits and gravy from Denny's. I mean, just do the whole thing.
Woohoo! He's got oranges the size of beach balls.
Woohoo! I don't even know what to say.
It's 8:09.
Have you heard about Salt River Automotive? Not only are we open for business and ready to serve you, we are sponsors of the BS in the Morning Show on Westplex 107.1. Check us out on Facebook at Salt River Automotive LLC. See you soon.